Hello, my name is Kelly Welch. I am looking so much forward to meeting you and your children as we embark on this wonderful, exciting year of kindergarten. Tonight I'm going to discuss assessment with you, which is how I will assess your students throughout the school year. I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to have a PowerPoint show up. Now, this assessment is two forms of assessment. So, two forms of assessment that teachers do is the formative and summative assessment. So the formative assessment is where I monitor students throughout the year, and this usually does not have a grade attached with it. So this is mostly for practice. Then the summative assessment is where students at the end of the year will do a project or a test, presentation, whatever is assigned by me, and they will complete it with their knowledge of what they have learned throughout the school year. So this will require a grade usually. And so the current law for governing assessment, North Carolina stresses assessment. So not only in my classroom, but all teachers practice this assessment. So there are four important points for the reason why they stress assessment. First is that teachers can study on the progress of their students, that they can correct what their students are doing wrong, and they can just see what they're struggling with. And then number two, assessment helps next year teachers see about the students' progress and their strengths and their weaknesses. And then number three, it helps you as parents to see how your child is progressing throughout the school year. And then four, it's for our school records. So how do I assess students in the classroom? I assess in a number of ways. There are always three ways I assess in every day. First, whenever I start a lesson, I will review what we have learned yesterday and ask them questions about what they remember from that lesson. And then the second way is I will also always review at the very end of the lesson for that day and review how I've review the material that we've gone over with in that day, and I will ask them questions. And then I will always walk around the room after I have taught a lesson and when students are working on assigned worksheets, and I will look to see if they're comprehending the material and if they're understanding that material through those worksheets. And then also individually, I will sometimes ask students to read sentences. I will ask them questions about different things. I might ask them to draw a picture related to the lesson that we've discussed that day. And then conversations one-to-one. I will ask students about their favorite subjects, their favorite interests, just their different favorite activities in general, what they like to do. And then I will incorporate this into my lesson plan so that I will be able to cover a broad variety of interest for my students, that I will be able to teach more effectively, where they will be able to learn more through their interests that I've incorporated into that lesson. So what is the purpose of assessment? The purpose of assessment is for students to have a better understanding of the material. So whenever they make a mistake and I see that they're misunderstanding the material, I can correct them and say, no, you need to do it this way. And also just reviewing the material constantly over and over again. This helps students to get a better grip on the material and to better understand the material. And then it also helps us as teachers to understand students' talents and weaknesses, and it helps give students the responsibility to correct their mistakes. So why is assessment so important? Assessment is important because students who are not understanding the material, I can reteach the material. So if some students are not getting it, then that means that there might be a problem with the way I'm teaching the material. So I will correct my teaching in order to instruct them better and to just better engage them and to better just to better engage them and just to see how they are doing. So by doing assessment daily, I can catch who needs more help early on in the lesson. So if I'm going around watching them do their worksheets, and then if I see that they're doing something wrong, then I can quickly say, you need to do this and this, so that they can understand it that time instead of catching it later on and then they have to relearn the material. So I will always know what progress my students are on whenever I assess them. So since I assess them daily, I know at the end of class how well they understand the material. And then the three general assessment practices. Authentic assessment is where I will apply the lesson to everyday life situations. So every lesson has a real life experience. Students learn not only the material, but why this material is important to my life or their lives. And then rubrics is the guidelines for whenever I assign projects, and the students have to follow these rubrics in order to get a correct grade. So my guidelines are always right there for students to be able to understand. And then performance task is whenever I assign students projects or activities, and then they carry it out in group works. And this promotes creative thinking, decision making, and problem solving. And a performance task could be as simple as a craft project that they have to do, but it's something that lets me see that they have understood the lesson and that they are putting what they have understood on paper or on a craft or whatever. And then, so that concludes my explanation for assessment. If you want to look up more information about assessment, I have a list right here of the sources I've used for my guidelines in creating this PowerPoint. I look forward to meeting all of your children, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for listening.